They say every day is for the thief, one day for the owner of the house. But ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, has reversed the role. It is now every day for the owner of the house. If you're involved in bribery, over-invoicing, or any shady deal, the day of reckoning has come. ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, is watching you. If you're reported for any corrupt practice, you'll be investigated, prosecuted, and punished. Corruption is harmful to our nation. Join the campaign against it by reporting any corrupt practice to ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
Let we join hands with ICPC, make them better.
Let's make Nigeria great again.
ICPC, they want to.
Come on, hand for corruption.
Break the chain of corruption now. Don't give, don't take. This message is brought to you by ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
Section 6E to F of the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act 2000 mandates the Commission to educate the public on and against bribery, corruption and related offences, and to enlist and foster public support in combating corruption. One of the departments through which the Commission performs these duties is the Education Department. This department ensures that the general public is properly educated and enlightened against the ills of corruption, with a special focus on Nigerian youths, who constitute a large percentage of Nigeria's population. Through the department, the Commission set up anti-corruption clubs in secondary schools nationwide to ensure active youth participation in the crusade against corruption. These clubs serve as avenues for inculcating the culture of transparency, accountability, honesty and integrity in the minds of students at the formative stage. This is our area of focus on this week's edition of the program, Corruption Must Go, ICPC's weekly television program. I am Hawasani Garba. Also in this edition, we bring you updates on the latest happenings on the war against corruption, feedback segments, and many more. Ruth Awode is here with anti-corruption stories after this time out.
Thank you, Hawa. Welcome to this segment. The Executive Director of the National Cereals Research Institute, NCRI, Badegi, Niger State, Professor Samuel Agboire, has been taken to court by ICPC for wrongful employment of 34 persons into the institute as staff. Professor Agboire, who was charged before Justice Yelim Bogoro of the Federal High Court, Minna, Niger State, was accused of violating the Federal Character Commission (FCC) Act 2004 when he allegedly employed 34 persons as workers into the institute without complying with its relevant provisions. ICPC, in a 3-count charge, accused him of failing to furnish the FCC with necessary details of the employment as required by law, as well as failing to comply with extant laws on employment, thereby committing an offence contrary to Section 14, subsection 3b, and punishable under Section 15, subsection 1 of the Federal Character Commission Act 2004. The acting executive director was further accused of abusing his office by employing the said workers in contravention of Section 14, subsection 5 of FCC Act 2004 and punishable under Section 15, subsection 1 of the same Act. Counsel to ICPC, Enosa Omoigbo, told the court that the professor also failed to adhere to the directive from FCC issued through a circular on procedures for employment into the Federal Public Service dated 1st September 2014. Professor Agboire pleaded not guilty when the charges were read to him. Justice Bogoro, in her ruling, granted him bail in the sum of 500,000 naira with 2 sureties in like sum, saying one of the sureties must be a staff of NCRI and not below grade level 14. Acting on the complaint of the ICPC Council that the accused had begun to harass the institute staff who had given the commission information that helped the investigations, she further ruled that the accused must enter into an undertaking not to victimize any staff of the institute. The matter was then adjourned to 16th November 2017 for hearing. A former secretary to the Kebbi State Government and former Commissioner of Finance of the same state, Alhaji Garba Rabiu Kamba and Alhaji Mohammed Bello Tunga, have been docked before Honorable Justice Umar Abubakar of Kebbi State High Court 3, sitting in Birni Kebbi, by Icpc for alleged misapplication of the sum of 664 million naira Kebbi State government funds. The duo, who held office during the tenure of the immediate past governor of Kebbi State, Alhaji Seidu Nasa Mudakingari, were said to have diverted the sum of 349,475,000 naira meant for the provision of power generators and what was referred to as other logistics for all polling units in Kebbi State for the 2015 general elections. The defendants were also accused of using their offices as SSG and Commissioner of Finance to siphon 315 million naira, which sum was approved and released purportedly to organize sensitization and enlightenment programs for imams and malams against using religion to incite political party supporters during the 2015 general elections in the 21 local government areas of Kebbi State. ICPC's intelligence-led investigation revealed that the said amounts were shared among their political cronies, as no power generators were purchased, nor was any imam or malam among the beneficiaries of the sensitization money, respectively. Kamba and Tunga were therefore arraigned on a 4-count charge of offences bordering on criminal conspiracy, theft, conferring corrupt advantage on themselves, and using their positions for gratification. When the charges were read out to them, the two accused persons separately entered not guilty pleas. Bail was granted to each of them in the sum of 10 million naira and one surety in like sum, who must be resident and possess property worth 10 million naira within the jurisdiction of the court. The case was adjourned to 26 October 2017 for the commencement of hearing. ICPC has called on the newly inaugurated Anti-Corruption and Transparency Unit members of the Citizenship and Leadership Training Center, Abuja, to perform their actual duties with diligence and dedication so as to help reduce corruption to the barest minimum in the center.
I do solemnly swear that as a member of the Anti-Corruption and Transparency Unit of will display high levels of personal integrity and accountability in all my undertakings, that I will, to the best of my ability, take necessary lawful steps to curb corrupt practices and mobilize others to join the crusade against corruption. So help me God.
Mr. Akim Lawal, head of the Corruption Monitoring and Evaluation Department, ICPC, made the call during the inauguration of the new members of the Center's Act 2 recently. The CMED head, who solicited the cooperation of all Nigerians in the anti-corruption campaign, explained that the task of making public systems corruption-free and efficient requires sincere commitment and diligence from all citizens, especially officials who occupy sensitive positions in public institutions. In his remarks at the event, the Director General of the Center, Mr. Jonah Bawa, said the inauguration of the Act 2 members was a bold statement that the Citizenship and Leadership Training Center was keen into the anti-corruption drive of the present administration. That will be all on this segment. Corruption Must Go continues with Hawa.
Thank you, Ruth. You are watching Corruption Must Go. ICPC has established anti-corruption clubs in many secondary schools all over the country. These clubs are known as Students Anti-Corruption Clubs. The purpose of the clubs is to catch them young by instilling anti-corruption consciousness in the minds of the students.
Look at the issues we have in our country, people with corrupt characters and attitude, money laundering and other things. I try to relate these things to our students that it's the way they were trained then, and for us to change this country, because nobody likes the kind of Nigeria where we reside in today. I told them that the way we can change this country to be suitable for us tomorrow is by shunning corruption. So the activities we've been taking is educating our peers, majorly peer education, because it's better you relate with them personally than just saying it. Some people may listen, some may not listen, but going closer to them, speaking to them in the students' language is the best way, is the best approach for them. So it's been interesting for me, and it's also nice. And I believe that the country, the Nigeria of our dreams, I strongly have faith that it will be realized sooner or later. Thank you.
Madam Baba Ashiru is the head education department of ICPC. He speaks further on the students' anti-corruption clubs.
So I would like to know if ICPC has presence in secondary schools.
Yes, of course. ICPC has presence in secondary schools. As a matter of fact, 800 secondary schools across the country. And we started reaching out to secondary schools way back 2003, barely 3 years after the establishment of the commission.
Okay, sir. So what brought about this idea to have presence in secondary schools?
To understand the genesis of our presence in secondary school, one needs to put anti-corruption clubs in proper anti-corruption perspective. In the first place, the Act establishing ICPC, that is the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act 2000, Section 6E and F, empowers the Commission to educate the public, enlist and foster the support and cooperation of members of the public to the fight against corruption. It's under this legal framework that ICPC, like I said, way back 2003, decided to engage youth at their formative stage to join the fight against corruption by teaching them moral values of honesty, moral values of integrity, and moral values of discipline and respect for constituted authorities and elders. And that is the essence for the establishment of anti-corruption clubs in secondary schools across the country.
Okay, sir. So what activities should these anti-corruption clubs engage in, or what are they expected to do as anti-corruption clubs?
Yes, we have a guideline, or we have guidelines produced in book form, and which is this particular guideline. This guideline guides the clubs as per the structure of the clubs and their objectives, also their duties, and what we expect the clubs to do. They are supposed to carry out so many anti-corruption projects at their own level. You know, secondary school students are still at their formative stage. But the essence is not to overburden secondary school students with so much talk about corruption, but to build them into very good citizens. Citizens who will see something wrong and ask questions. Citizens who will do the right thing even when nobody is watching. Way back 2003, we produced this guideline that does not, these are guidelines that do not leave the clubs in doubt as regards what we expect them to do. For instance, apart from the structure of the club, we expect that the club will be headed by a patron, and then the patron will now liaise harmoniously with the principal of that secondary school. And you know, secondary schools do have clubs. So we expect the clubs, anti-corruption clubs, to perform along the same line other clubs are performing, except for the fact that they are supposed to resist corruption, either within or outside the school. So that is just the difference between anti-corruption club and the other clubs, like road safety clubs. They form like drama clubs and all this.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, apart from, yes, your presence is in the clubs like you mentioned.
Yeah.
Are there any other activities? Like, do they organize shows? Do they organize debates?
Yeah, certainly. They organize playlists. Most often we invite them here at Icpc to play some small drama playlists for us that depict corruption, that depict the fight against corruption across the society. And you marveled at how these youngsters perform. They really hit issues of integrity, honesty, on the head. You understand?
Yes.
And they also kind of produce like assembly songs tailored around the fight against corruption. They also participate in our essay competition. We encourage them to participate in the essay competition. And most often we encourage them to pay courtesy calls on the Icpc for an interface with the leadership of the commission for further guidance. And that kind of visit also encourage them because it serves as a mentorship.
Yeah.
To tell you one story, there was a day one club was coming from Gosa Secondary School, and a policeman plugged them on the road, trying to demand bribery. And one of the members of the club, a tiny girl like this, shouted at the driver, "Don't give him anything, don't give him anything. We are members of anti-corruption club." And that was during Justice Akombi's time. The club came, we received them well, and upon hearing the story, we really encouraged them to carry on. So something like this. There are many other activities that we encourage them to do, and we also monitor them based on these guidelines.
Okay. All right, sir. Have there been any challenges?
Well, the only, there are, of course, in anything good, there must be challenges. There is never anything good that goes without challenges. But the worst challenge I can say, as far as the activities of anti-corruption clubs is concerned, is the relationship between the patron and the principal. So where the patron organizes anti-corruption activities for the club, the principal often, some of the principals anyway, not all of them, some do cooperate quite well, and we are appreciative of that. But many of them do tell them that there's no money budgeted for that. You understand? So, but even at that, we encourage them to approach Icpc and seek for funding, because these are small funds you can afford, at least to encourage the students. Because what they are doing actually will penetrate deep down into their psyche. And the essence is to catch them young. Once we catch them young at their formative stage, their brain is like tabula rasa. Once we catch them young at that level, you can be sure that about 10 generations coming up will be very good citizens of Nigeria. And in the very near future, there will be no even corruption to pursue by the grace of God.
Okay. So do you have any words of encouragement for some secondary school students who might be watching the show right now?
Yeah, secondary school students should be willing to join the anti-corruption clubs because it pays. Once you're a member of the anti-corruption clubs, we monitor your progress right from secondary school to the university where we have a vanguard, anti-corruption vanguard. We encourage you to graduate into be member of the vanguard. Then at the NYSC level, we also encourage you to join the Anti-Corruption Community Development Association. And who knows, by the time you are through with your youth service and you're looking for employment, we say, yeah, we've trained you, we groomed you, we know you, we have your record, so we give you priority. So, but the students, secondary school students who are members of our club should not take this as just a kind of meal ticket. You understand? Yes. They should consider joining the anti-corruption club as a civic duty, because doing that will complement our effort in infusing moral values into examinable subjects from level 1 to 9 which you know they are the students taking those subjects. So it will serve as complementary. So they should feel free to join the clubs, and if they need our attention, they should not hesitate to approach ICPC. We will always support them.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
Corruption not in my country.
Hello, Alhaji. Right now I'm in Abuja. No. Hello, Adamu. Right now I'm in Kano. Yes. When I get back, I will just call you. Look, what is wrong with you? I'm talking on the phone and you are gesticulating and doing. What's wrong with you?
Daddy, where exactly are we as we speak?
Are you alright? This is Lagos.
Well, you just lied to someone that we're in Abuja.
Keep quiet. Who told you you can tell an elderly person is lying?
Daddy, you just lied. And by lying, you're raising corrupt children for the future of Nigeria. That is corruption, not in my country.
Stop corruption now.
Corruption not in my country.
It goes without saying that once the youths are properly fed with the nutrients of integrity and sound morals, they grow up to be upright citizens and the society will have a significant reduction in the level of corruption. Thank you for watching and see you again next week.